What's up? I know we're a couple days late. I'm gonna preface this by saying I know we're a few days late. Just did not have a ton of energy to record the video for the last couple days, so it's been on the back burner. But do we have a banger to share today? Losers semifinals against Sean, Lanky Paul, the Edmonton Eiscues. We had kind of a short week to prep. We played Thursday against our quarterfinal game, beat Harry in a slugfest, and then had to play Sean 3 days later on Sunday night. So quick turnaround time, but I think we did some really cool things, and excited to show you the game. So let's go into Team Builder real quick. Leading off, Bindi the Crocodile. At this point, the set that kind of has worked the best. It's the Earthquake knockoff, Close Combat, Stealth Rock, Choice Scarf, Moxie variant. We're Jolly Nature, 311 speed, so that we can outspeed things with the Choice Scarf. And we still hit hard enough with that 333 attack. Not much to say other than Bindi is definitely the offensive MVP of this team for the year, and we're really, going to use it for as much as we can here in the last part of the season, because it's not coming back for season 2. So we'll talk about kind of how the draft is going after this. But Bindi, definitely a core staple of the season 1 team, and we're really excited to see what it does here in this semifinal game. Next up, our physically defensive Tangrowth, exact same set as we brought against Harry. The Regenerator, Lax Nature, Giga Drain knockoff, Sleep Powder, which is definitely, I feel a little bad about bringing Sleep Powder, but at the same time, when people are throwing Toxics around like left and right, a status condition that goes away on its own is not that bad. And then Leech Seed to help with just the longevity. Dragonite, we switch things up a tiny bit. You'll notice the moveset is a little weird. We're running E-Speed, Dragon Claw, Defog, and Roost. The Dragonite this week has the heavy-duty boots. We're still multi-scale adamant, so we're still hitting like a truck. But we've got 386 health and 403 attack, as opposed to, boosting up speed or something else. I felt that having a little bit beefier of a Dragonite this week was going to help. Just give it a little bit more longevity. Not necessarily trying to set up as much against Sean. He's got a Clefable that has Unaware, so it's like really hard to commit to D-dancing in the face of something 4 times, and then, the Clefable switches in and I have to switch out because Dragon Claw doesn't do anything, and the E-Speed with the Unaware just does base damage, and Clefable is going to be bulky. So to combat that, we brought more of a utility moveset. I don't have Earthquake, which stinks a little bit, but the defog for hazards is great, and then Roost, like I said, just to give me a little bit more longevity with this this big bulky boy. So Galahad is unique this week, but I really like it. The last, or up next, I guess, Hotbox, the Rotom Heat, Discharge, Shadow Ball, Nasty Plot, Pain Split. This thing is tailor-made to take down Reuniclus in a 1v1. We're Calm, Max Special Defense, so 344 in Special Defense, the Nasty Plot, and Shadow Ball to help break down that Reuniclus if it starts to do things like Calm Mind or Recover and stuff like that. We've got Pain Split, and we can outpace it with Nasty Plot, and then hope to get either like a Paralyze with Discharge or Special D drops, Shadow Ball. Leftovers just for a little bit more longevity and kind of helping with that stall battle. And in testing, this thing almost never loses that 1v1. So really happy with the Rotom Heat. It's also really good against things like Galvantula and some of the other threats on his team. Discharge 30% pair is just pretty good. and it's one of the lasting, it's the only lasting status condition that I have on the team this week. So I really like this set. We haven't brought Rotom Heat a lot, and we've done a lot of different things with it when we have. So I'm excited to use it as kind of that special defensive wall and check a couple of different things on his team. Then we have Bumble, the Alolan Sandslash, more the defensive hazard removal set. So we're running not Volt Absorb, but it's Slush Rush. Sorry about that. Impish Nature, Leftovers, Knockoff Rapid Spin, EQ because Ground type hits his team pretty hard, and then Iron Head to deal with the Fairy types. We are running 354 HP, 372 defense. Other than that, not really anything crazy in the stat line. But you'll notice that we are not, where our sixth member of the team is Aurorus. But we're not bringing Hail. We're bringing a secret weapon. Demeter the Aurorus this week is max special attack modest, choice specs, fully offensive. The last time I played Sean, we went with the Hail. We brought Slush Rush, Max Attack, Sandslash, and I thought he might prep for that this time around, but I definitely don't think anybody really would prep for, just all-out attacker, refrigerate Aurorus. I love this set, and I love this Pokemon so much. Hyper Voice is doing stupid damage against most of his team. We got Ancient Power for, potential buffs. Dark Pulse hits the Reuniclus and the Corsola really well, and then Flash Cannon's there to take down that Clefable. Across the board, stats-wise, 326 special attack, and then you put a choice specs on top of that. That's pretty good. But 450 HP. I don't have to say anything else. So let's just get into the gameplay. I mean, that kind of does it for the team builder. We're bringing some off-meta stuff, some different stuff. But I think it's a really good plan, and I think we could potentially catch Sean off guard, and we need to because he's on a tear. He's playing extremely well, and the winner of this game goes on to play Garrett in the losers finals for a shot at DJ again. So we gotta be on the top of our game if we hope to advance. So let's jump into gameplay. Right off the bat, we see team preview, Obstagoon, Galvantula, the Clefable, Reuniclus, Zeraora, and Corsola. So right away, we're thinking, there's a couple of different ways that we can lead and kind of start this off. One, we can go Choice Scarf Rocks with Crocodile and just kind of probably trade rocks or trade webs and rocks or do something that way. Or we could send out Aurorus, bluffing rocks that way, and then just fire off a really big choice specs hit. And that's what we do. So he leads Galvantula, we go Aurorus. He goes for Volt Switch right away, which I thought was a little interesting. Against Aurorus, I guess he didn't want to take a max special attack, Ancient Power or something like that. But, I have not brought our offensive Aurorus at all this year. It's always been, defensive, assault vested, or light clay, set up screens. So right off the bat, we're able to get off a really big hit. He goes into the Corsola and we go Hyper Voice and it does 46%. So great there. This thing is a pain in the butt. I'm not really scared of it, but it is something that's we have to find a way to deal with it at some point. So I switch out and I go into Sandslash, thinking, I could get off a really big knockoff and take the Eviolite off, which is great, and we do exactly that. Strength Staff is annoying, but we have a really good check with Rotom Heat. Don't get burned, which is awesome, and then we get a Nasty Plot while he switches out to Obstagoon. So here, we're in a really interesting spot. He's got a light screen up, which is annoying, and definitely impacts Rotom's effectiveness in this spot, and I'm not defensive, I'm specially defensive. So the Obstagoon is potentially pretty scary here. So I switch out into our check. We go into Tangrowth. He uses Facade, and we take that pretty well. I mean, it's a burn boosted Facade, and it does 47%. So I can take another one with leftovers, especially. I'm pretty comfortable staying in. He goes for knockoff, which sucks, but we do get Leech Seed off. So now he's seeded and burned. I need to switch out just to preserve my life total. I can't live a Facade at this point. So we get the Regenerator boost back. Bring in Sand Slash. We take that Facade really, really well. And now with the leftovers and the seed, we're basically, a free switch in. He goes for Obstruct, which is a really great play. And he did that against me in our first game, a couple of weeks ago at the end of the regular season. And he got me on that one, and he gets me on this one again. I don't know why. I just don't think Obstagoon gets Protect that, does that. But he gets the defense drop, and we're chipping away with the burn and the Leech Seed, but that's a big bummer, and I don't really want to stay in, so we swap to Tangrowth because we've seen before that we can take those hits, and he's getting to a point where with the burn and the Leech Seed and maybe a Giga Drain or something like that from Tangrowth, we can actually take it out and live the pressure. So goes for knockoff, which is great. I think he probably expected me to switch, maybe not back into Tangrowth, or maybe he thought, I was comfortable enough because Sand Slash is so bulky that I could take a Facade even at -2. But we switch out, so knockoff doesn't do a whole lot, and again, it's kind of like a pseudo free switch in, and he doesn't want to just burn his Obstagoon against the Tangrowth, so swaps out into White Privilege, and now we're kind of back to not square one with this thing, but I'm interested to see kind of what we can do after that Giga Drain, does 23%. We get a good Sleep Powder, but then miss the Leech Seed, so that's a little unfortunate. We get the second one when he wakes up, and they get the screen up again. So, playing really well around my special threats, but we get a huge knockoff here. And this does two things. Number one, we get 33% damage on a very scary special sweeper. The Reuniclus, and it had weakness policy, so it procs that, and he gets +2 attack, which doesn't matter at all, and +2 special attack, which makes this thing very scary right away. However, now we know that it doesn't have an item, and with the light screen kind of where it's at, we know the Corsola had a Eviolite that we knocked off, so it doesn't have Light Clay, so it's only going to be around for that 4 turns, now 3. And this Sleep Powder probably saved the game, to be honest with you. It was a huge, connected status there. It shuts down the Reuniclus for a brief amount of time to where I can switch into Crocodile and really threaten this thing out, because it doesn't want to take a knockoff. For as big of a threat as this is, it doesn't want to take a stab knockoff. Even though it doesn't have an item anymore, it's still going to do a bunch of damage. He misses the Focus Blast on the switch in, which is brilliant. So kind of a justice for a turn 1 wake up, I guess, is how I'll say that. And knockoff does a ton of damage and brings it down to 21%. That being said, I am in Moxie range if I live, and well, I don't. The Focus Blast connects, and there's no way in hell, even if I was, at max health and he wasn't +2, that I was probably living that. So we go down, and it's now 6-5. But that's okay. We've got the Reuniclus down to 21%. Crocodile did its job a little bit. I would have loved to see it sweep a little bit harder, or play a bigger role, especially in the end game of this game. But I think we used it the correct way this week, even though it wasn't like a sweep necessarily, or like a pseudo sweep where it got 2 or 3 kills in a row. It had an impact, and it did enough damage to where I feel okay with it going down this early. And that gives us a really good switch into Dragonite, and a Dragon Claw is going to easily take the Reuniclus out. So now we're tied at 5. And a huge threat is off the board. It lets Rotom Heat not have to worry about trying to 1v1 something that had, you know, we only actually saw Focus Blast, which is kind of funny. But my guess is it probably had some setup stuff, and stored power is kind of meta right now in the playoffs. A lot of people have been doing that, and my guess is it probably had something along those lines of like a Calm Mind stored power type set. So that goes down, and he brings out Clefable. This is kind of like where, okay, Dragonite versus Clefable. I don't want to stay in. Extreme Speed's never going to do enough damage to where I win this 1v1. A Moonblast is going to make me cry. So I have to switch out. I'm going to Tangrowth because I don't really have a good switch for Clefable. And this is kind of like a running theme 2 weeks in a row now of where the opposing team has a really bulky, a really physically bulky Pokemon that can take special hits as well. And I don't have a physical attacker that can come in and do enough damage to threaten it out, or a special attacker that can do enough damage to threaten it out. We do have the Aurorus. Demeter is this thing's check with the Choice Specs Flash Cannon, but that's only doing like a max roll is like, I think it was like right around 60%. It was like a 2-hit KO potentially, but we had to like, it was a roll for a 2-hit KO, and even then it was like I don't even know if it was a guaranteed 2-hit roll. So for us to come in and pull off that surprise Flash Cannon, we need to do some chip damage on this thing, and I guess Tangrowth, long story short, is the best switch we had at this point. He doesn't want to get it knocked off or leech seeded, so he switches out into the Corsola, but we get the leech seed there, which is great. He's back up to full health with the Wish. We land another Sleep Powder, which is great. Yeah, we're pretty free to switch into Aurorus and then click a Specs move at some point. He switches out into Clefable again to take the Dark Pulse, which, you know, great switch there. Reads that pretty well. And then just, you know, we're going to kind of like do a couple of different loop-de-loops and switches. Eventually we get Sandslash in against this thing. It's still asleep. Go out into Rotom Heat, and I'm kind of like, enough with this. Let's Nasty Plot and Shadow Ball and kill it. And he gets another light screen up, which, you know, third time's the charm. We go for the second Nasty Plot because, like, the Corsola can't touch us. But he's got not only the unaware Clefable, but also the Volt Absorb Zeraora. So we kind of waste an opportunity with Rotom here, but the light screen's still up, and it's, you know, I didn't take any damage, so it wasn't a terrible, you know, usage, and I forced some switches, and we're kind of making things happen, and we're burning light screen turns, but I definitely can't stay in here. So I swap out into my physical wall, take the knockoff, no problem. And now we're in a pretty decent spot. We see Life Orb damage, and it goes for Blaze Kick, which, okay, I see you, Sean. Well done. So this thing's definitely built to break down both Tangrowth and Slowbro. And we get burned, which kind of sucks, but we do get a knockoff, so we hamper the damage of output a little bit with the Life Orb being knocked off. Neither of us wanted to stay in, I guess. I think he probably thought I was going to switch. So he correctly goes into, you know, the Clefable against my Dragonite, and we're back to kind of square one with I can't really do anything to it, and it gets a free Wish off. I try and go for E-Speed here just to see how much damage it'll do. 27% is good, but not great. And again, like I said, free Wish gets off, goes into Obstagoon, and I'm just like, I'm having none of that. Like, I absolutely know he wants to switch in either the Zeraora or the Obstagoon to get that Wish passed off to one of his, you know, big threats. So I'm thinking, you know what? If he Moonblasts me, good for you. We have Roost, and we can kind of maybe, you know, set up a way to find health against, you know, the Corsola later or something like that. So I just go for E-Speed, take the gamble, and it pays off. We knock out Obstagoon, and we go up 5-4. So things are going pretty well. We're playing well, and you know, there's still big hurdles that we got to get over. You know, namely this Kinky Pinky. But you know, Sandslash is a okay check for it. You know, at least early on. We get the knockoff onto the Corsola, which doesn't do enough damage. And we get the fourth light screen gets set up, and you know, a Shadow Ball against the Clefable with a light screen is doing absolutely nothing. We go for discharge, and we get the para, which is significant in a couple of ways, mainly for speed control. And you know, maybe we get into a situation where I gotta rely on a full para later or something like that. But you know, where I'm pretty happy about that result. I know I'm not going to do enough damage to this thing, but that's kind of the thought process of, okay, well, Clefable can't really do anything to me, especially because at this point we know it's got Wish, Moonblast, and probably like Protect and some other fourth move. Yeah, so I'm kind of not really super afraid. Like, if it uses Toxic, that's a bummer, but you know, we'll deal with it if we have to. So he goes for Moonblast. It does absolutely no damage. Yeah, we get a nice swap out for the Toxic immunity into the Steel-type Sandslash. And that threatens that out. We get another Iron Head off. And now I will say we get a little lucky here. We get a flinch, and we're able to knock out the Corsola. I hate winning on hacks and relying on hacks, but you know, the flinch was kind of nice to get. At this point, we know Corsola's max speed is 174. My max speed is, or my speed is, according to the team builder, let's see, my speed is 166. I don't remember if, well, I was faster, so even if he would have strength sapped, you know, we could have maybe, I mean, it essentially sets you back to square one, right? And then we go through this whole kind of like switch rotation again. So unfortunate that we get the flinch there for Sean, but it does let us take down the Corsola, and now it is 5-3, and we're kind of in the driver's seat now. We've got a lot of threats in the back still. We have a defensive wall. I can't stand against a Blaze Kick though, and he correctly goes for knockoff. You know, reads the switch, great. I don't think he, you know, necessarily thought Dragonite was going to be this bulky. You know, it's not stab, so it's not going to do a ton of damage, but I do have heavy duty boots on. But at this point, he's shown he doesn't have rocks, so I don't really care that my boots get knocked off. And, you know, at this point, Extreme Speed's doing, you know, 39% on a decent roll. So if he doesn't kill me, I for sure can E-Speed and kill it. Plasma Fist connects, and we live it really, really well. Surprisingly well, actually. And I think that's probably because of our HP investment. So I'm really happy with the set we brought, and you know, we're able to get another Extreme Speed off against the Clefable, which is a bummer. Goes for Wish, and you know, you see we kind of threaten things out. You know, we threaten the Clefable out every time because the Iron Head from the Sandslash. At this point in the game, Earthquake is hitting the Zeraora and the Galvantula pretty okay. It was gonna do enough, you know, for sure, to kill the Zeraora, and you know, I figured, why not, right? So we get that read right. He switches into the Electric type that takes the Earthquake, does not take it well, and it goes down. So we got Galvantula, and I'm kind of in a point where I'm like, you know, I could probably not sack the Sandslash, but I can, you know, I don't have to worry about playing for differential or anything like that. Let's just get as much damage off as possible. So the Earthquake does 44%, and we take the Thunderbolt, and it's a guaranteed 2-hit kill. But it's pretty good damage. And like at this range, an E-Speed from Dragonite is like borderline, enough to kill. Yeah, and we're not living a second one. So we go down, and Sean brings it down to 4-2. And we go into Dragonite, and he switches out right away. E-Speed's probably taking the Galvantula down, or it's close. And it's not doing a whole lot to the Clefable. So this thing still has leftovers. And I'm kind of thinking and banking on the fact that he's going to go for a Moonblast later and go for the Wish now to heal either Galvantula when I switch, or just heal Clefable and keep it around. Because it's walling the Dragonite fairly well. Especially with the Toxic there. And now I'm just kind of in the mode where let's just get as much damage off as possible. If he goes for Toxic on a switch, maybe we don't get Toxic because we just stay in. And then I can switch into Tangrowth and finally knock off this thing's leftovers and not be afraid of a Toxic because I'm already burned. That's kind of the thought process there. I needed the knockoff to at some point set up kind of like an end state, right? So at this point, we're playing for Clefable to be taking damage every turn and not being able to recover things out. So at some point, I want the leftovers knocked off, and I want Clefable to be the last thing in and get a Leech Seed on it. So I got to preserve Tangrowth a little bit. Moonblast hurts, but I live on enough to where I can swap out into Rotom Heat, take a Moonblast, no problem, and now Rotom Heat kind of destroys Galvantula, and we can do some damage to the Clefable and start using Discharge, and wear this thing down a little bit. We get a Paralyze, or a full para, which is great, and now we're in range. Now we're in range to where Flash Cannon's gonna kill, but he's got Protect, he's got the Wish, and he's back up to full. And now it's just kind of, how many Flash Cannons does it take to take down Aurorus and Galvantula? We get the special D-drop, which is awesome. He's going to keep Wish protecting, but we eventually do, get that Flash Cannons, punch out on both of these Pokemon. So we're bulky enough because of that 450 HP. We took Thunderbolts, and we get the victory, which is awesome. We get a 4-0, actually, a 4-0 victory in loser semis against a really good team. So I think I played really, really well this week. I think the short prep time definitely was not fun, but we did a really cool thing with the team, and this is cool. The Aurorus did exactly what it was supposed to. So I'm really happy with kind of like the changes, or the unique sets that we brought. The defensive, or not defensive Dragonite, but the bulkier Dragonite, and the special defensive Rotom, the hyper offensive Aurorus. And then, same Tangrowth and Crocodile sets that we've run for forever, and, just a pretty vanilla Sandslash set. So I think we did just enough of being creative to get us through. And now we play Garrett in Losers Finals on Thursday. So we've got 2 days to prep and hopefully play a really great game against a team that has beaten us twice. So we're going for the redemption arc here. We finish at the very worst third in our first season of competitive Pokemon, so that's pretty cool. And I'm really proud of how we've done so far. Unfortunately, none of our Season 1 Pokemon are going to be returning for Season 2. And that's all I'm going to spoil for the draft. We are almost done with the Season 2 draft. The first game is going to take place a week after the championship for Season 1. So Losers Semis, or Losers Finals with me and Garrett will be on Thursday the 4th. Whoever wins that game will get to play DJ on the 7th, on Sunday. And if we beat DJ, me or Garrett, if we beat DJ, we do a bracket reset and then grand finals there. If we lose, it's over. DJ wins, having, just an incredible season 1. That leaves a week later, on the 14th of February, Valentine's Day, the kickoff for season 2. I'm super excited about what we are drafting, and there will be a recap video at some point on not only our team, but also the whole the whole season 2 overview. So we'll look at everybody else's drafts, what the conferences look like, which I think is a cool addition now that we have more teams. And I'm just really stoked for season 2. So cheer us on Thursday, and hopefully we can bring home a W and make it back to the championship and at least get second, which would be really, really cool for our little resume. So GG's to Garrett coming up. GG's to Sean for this game. It's been super fun kind of fighting our way back in the losers bracket, and I hope we can keep it running. So thanks for all your support this season. Again, sorry about the late video this week, but motivation will sometimes not be there, and I'm glad we're finally getting the video out, and I think it's a pretty good one. So thanks so much. Go Flygons. We'll see you next time.